Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our report, a summary of what infants and toddlers can do physically. We will know this based on our observation in our siblings or our niece. And the domain of this report is the physical health, well-being, and motor development. Standards 1. The child demonstrate adequate growth, weight, height, head circumstances. Standards 2. The child has adequate sensory system to participate in daily activities. And let us proceed on what infants and toddlers can do physically starting on 0 to 6 months. First, startles to loud sounds. Visually follows a moving object from side to side. Visually follows a moving object up and down. Reacts to pain by crying. Withdraws or cries when in contact with something hot. Withdraws or reacts with surprise when in contact with something cold. Reacts with pleasure, smiles or relaxed expression when he or she tastes something delicious. Reacts by making a face, frown, grimaces when he or she tastes something or she does not like. And the next is 7 to 12 months. Reacts with pleasure when he or she smells something nice. Reacts by making a face when he or she smells something foul. Standards 3. The child has adequate stamina to participate in daily activities. Pushes and or pulls moderately heavy object like chairs, large boxes. Walks without tiring easily. And the infant going 13 to 18 months. He or she can place without tiring easily, able to keep pace with playmates. Participates actively in games, outdoor play, and other exercises. And he or she going 19 to 24 months. It can sustain physical activity like dancing, outdoor games, swimming for at least 3 to 5 minutes. And the next of an infant physical health is the motor skills development or gross motor skills. So what is the gross motor skills? The gross motor skills are the abilities usually acquired during childhood as part of a child's motor learning. Standards 1. The child shows control and coordination of body movements involving large muscle groups. Based on your experience, are these indicators generally observed on and or performed by a child on specified age? So let us start on 0 to 6 months. It can hold head steadily. Moves arm and legs equally to reach at dangling object. Rolls over. Bounces when held standing, briefly bearing weight or legs. Sits with support. Starting to crawl but not yet very good at this. Next stage 7 to 12 months. Sits along steadily without support. Creep or crawls with ease as a primary means of moving around. Stands without support. Stands from a sitting position without any help. Squats from standing position with ease. Stands from standing position with ease. Bends over easily without falling. Stands from a bent position without falling. Walks sideways by holding onto a side or crib or furnitures. Example, cruises. Walks with one hand held. 13 to 18 months. walks without support, walks backwards, walks up the stair with hand held 2 feet on each step, walks down the stairs with hand held 2 feet on each step, jump in place, climbs onto a steady elevated surface. Example, bed, adult chair or bangko. Kicks a ball but with little control of direction. Throws a ball but with little control of direction. Throw a ball but with little control of speed. Runs without tripping or falling. Maintains balance, walking on a slow, narrow ledge between two lines without assistance. Moves with music when he hears it. Can move body to imitate familiar animals. Can move body to imitate another person or TV characters. 19 to 24 months. Walks up the stairs with alternating feet without help. Walks down the stairs with alternating feet without help. Kicks a ball with control of direction. Throws a ball with control of direction. Throws a ball with control of speed. The next motor skills development is the fine motor skills. So what is fine motor skills? Fine motor skills is the coordination of small muscles in movement with the eyes, it usually involving the synchronization of hands and fingers. Standards 1. The child can control and coordinate hand and finger movements. Based on your experience, are these indicators generally observed on and or performed by a child on a specified age? So let us start on 0 to 6 months. 0 to 6 months, can hands open most of the time. Brings both hands together towards dangling object or toy. Uses either hand interchangeably to grasp object. Uses all 5 fingers in a rocking motion to get food and toys placed on a flat surface. Grasp object with the same hand most of the time, or hand preference emerging. 7 to 12 months. Pulls toys by the string. Bangs 2 large blocks together. Picks up object with thumb and index fingers. Grasp and transfer objects from hand to hand. Grasp object with the same hand all of the time. Definite hand preference established. Next is 13 to 18 months. It can put small objects in or out of the container. Unscrews lids. Unwraps candy or food. Holds thick pencil or crayons with palmar grip. Example, all 5 fingers wrap around pencil. Scribbles spontaneously. 19 to 24 months. Colors with strokes going out of the lines. Next is the personal care and hygiene or an activities of daily living. There we observe the hygiene of an infant. Standards 1. The child participates in basic personal care routines. Based on your experience, are these indicators generally observed on and or performed by a child on the specified age? So let us start on 0 to 6 months. Sucks and swallow milk from breast or bottle. Begins to take complementary or semi-solid foods by the end of 6 months. Keeps reasonably still while being dressed, undressed, bathed, and while diaper in being changed. 7 to 12 months. It can hold a feeding bottle by himself, helps hold cup for drinking, chews solid food well, feeds self with finger foods, scoops with a spoon with spillage. 13 to 18 months. Feeds self with assistance. Feeds self using fingers to eat rice viands with spillage. Feeds self using spoon with spillage. No longer drinks from feeding bottle. Drinks from cup unassisted. Participates when being dressed by lifting arms or raising legs. Pulls down gartered short pants, underpants or pants. Removes shoes, sandals. Informs caregiver of the need to move his bowels so he or she can brought to comfort room. Takes a bath with assistance. Brushes teeth after meals with assistance from adult. Washes and dries hand under adult supervision. Washes and dries face with the assistance of an adult. 19 to 24 months. Gets drink for self unassisted. Removes loose sando. Removes socks. Inform caregiver of the need to urinate so he or she can brought to the comfort room. Goes to the designated place to urinate but sometimes wets his or her pants. Goes to the designated place to move his or her bowels but sometimes still soil he or her pants. Goes to the designated place to move his or her bowels but need help with wiping and washing. Brushes teeth after meals with adult supervision. Washes and dries face under adult supervision. Let us proceed to the next topic, a summary of what infants and toddlers can do cognitively. The domain of this topic is the language, pre-reading and pre-math language, and receptive language. Based on your experience, are these indicators generally observed on and or performed by child on the specified age? So we need to start on 0 to 6 months. Watches primary caregiver intently as she speaks to him or her. 7 to 12 months. Understands the word no. Points to family member when asked to do so. 13 to 18 months. Points to 5 body parts on him or herself when asked to do so. Follows one-step instruction without need for gesture. 19 to 24 months. Points to 5 named pictured objects when asked to do so. In other words, he can find or he can identify the objects. Next is the language, expressive language. Standards 1. The child is able to use words and gesture to express his thoughts and feelings. Based on your experience, are these indicators generally observed and or performed by a child on the specified age? But before that, we must know what is expressive language. Expressive language is the ability to request object, make a choice, ask question, answer, and describe events. And let us start on 0 to 6 months. Makes gurgling, cawing, bubbling, or other vocal sounds. Uses gesture. Example, stretching his or her arms, pointing, to indicate what he or she wants. 7 to 12 months. Repeats sounds produced by others. Says meaningful words like papa, mama to refer a specific persons. Uses animal sound to identify animals. Example, meow meow for cat, ow ow for dog. Uses environmental sounds to identify objects, or event in the environment. Example, boom for thunder. 13 to 18 months. Speaks in single words. Says yes and no appropriately. Uses words accompanied by gesture to indicate what he or she wants. Responds to a simple question with single words. 19 to 24 months. Uses pronouns. Uses possessive pronouns. Says what he or she wants without accompanying this with gestures. Attempts to converse even if he cannot be clear understood. Next is pre-reading and pre-math or matching. What is pre-reading? Pre-reading is the process of skimming a text to locate key ideas before carefully reading a text. Pre-math. Pre-math is a math skills learned by preschoolers and kindergarten, including count numbers. Standards 1.1. The child is able to match identical objects, colors, shapes, and symbols. Based on your experience, are these indicators generally observed on and or performed by a child on the specified age? It will start on 7 to 12 months. It able to match two identical objects. Example, 2 spoons, 2 balls, 2 colors, 2 pencils, etc. 19 to 24 months. Matches identical objects. Matches identical pictures. Next is pre-reading and pre-math rote sequencing. So what is rote sequencing? Rote sequencing is saying numbers in order. Standards 1.2. The child is able to recite the alphabet and number in sequence. Standards 1.2. The child is able to recite the alphabet and numbers in sequence. It is start on 19 to 24 months. It can count from 1 to 5 with errors, gaps, or prompts. Next is attention and activity level. Standards 1. The child is able to sustain attention and modulate his activity at age expected levels. It starts on 0 to 6 months. Looks steadily on novel stimuli. Example, rattle, dangling toy. 7 to 12 months. Examines properties of toys for several minutes by handling this. Example, pulling apart. Looks with interest at picture books. Able to sit through entire meals without fusing. 13 to 18 months. May be distracted but respond when made to refocus. Resist interruption while engaged in play. Next is the higher ordered mental abilities or concept formation. Standards 1. The child develops basic concept pertaining to object constancy, space, time, quantity, seriation, etc. The uses this as the basis for understanding how materials are categorized in his or her environment. It starts on 0 to 6 months. Experiment with new object or toys by banging or putting them in his mouth. Looks in the direction of a falling object. 7 to 12 months. Looks for partially hidden objects. Looks for completely hidden objects. 13 to 18 months. Can tell whether something is hot or cold. Hands over one object when asked. 19 to 24 months. Can tell which is shorter of two items. Can tell which is taller, longer of two items. can tell which is bigger of two items, can tell or can tell which is nearer of two items. Next, higher ordered mental abilities, cause-effect relationship. Standards 1. The child is able to understand the cause-effect relationship. Based on your experience, are these indicators generally observed and or performed by a child on this specified age? Let us start on 0 to 6 months. It can act on an object to achieve an objective. Example, shakes, rattle. 7 to 12 months. Uses an object to get something he or she wants. Example, spoon to reach an object. 19 to 24. Asked why? Question. Understands reason behind daily practices. Example, washing hands before meals. Understand reason behind safety rules and practices at home. Example, why one must not play matches. Knows where to return most of his or her things. Next is the memory. Memory for experiences, episodic memory. The child is able to recall people he has met, events, and places he has been to. Based on your experience, are these indicators generally observed on and performed by a child on the specified age? Let us start on 0 to 6 months. The child reacts like smiling in recognition of someone he or she has met several times but who does not live in his or her home. 13 to 18 months. The child reacts like smiling in recognition of a familiar place beside his or her home. 19 to 24. Child is brought somewhere and correctly recall having been there before. The next type of a memory topic is the memory for concept-based knowledge, semantic memory. The child is able to store verbal information in short and long-term memory. It will start on 19 to 24 months. The child can hums a recognizable tune, memorizes some gestures of action song.